Greetings and welcome to our new series, More Hymn Stories. More Hymn Stories. We'll be starting off with our first one, which includes A Charge to Keep Have I. But first, I'd like to go with the preface before we start this book series. God sent his singers upon the earth with songs of sadness and of mirth, that they might touch the hearts of men and bring them back to heaven again. The Singers by Longfellow. The visiting church structures, both large and small, has always been one of my traveling delights. After observing the distinctive architectural characteristics and aesthetic features of a new sanctuary, I generally find myself browsing through the local church hymnal. I never cease to marvel at this one spiritual activity that churches of every branch of Christendom have in common around the world, voicing many of the expressions of worship, praise, and human concern. Experience has confirmed the conviction that next to the Bible, the hymnal is man's most important aid in the worship of the Almighty. Or, as another has observed, hymns are a rich deposit of Christian devotion, echoing the adoration of heaven and uplifting the faithful on earth who make their discovery. The response from the first book of 101 hymn stories has been rewarding. It has been gratifying to hear reports from many Christians that they have rediscovered their church hymnal. A short time ago, I received a call from a newly retired Christian couple who had said they were having one of the finest times of their lives by simply visiting several nursing homes each day, relating to the residents the stories from the 101 hymn stories. The experiences that prompted the writing of a particular song and getting these older folks to sing favorite hymns. Numerous pastors mentioned they have found meaningful sermon illustrations from these hymn stories. There have also been comments from individuals who have allowed themselves to become careless about church attendance, who have said that reading this book has been a reminder of the many songs they once sang as young people in Sunday school, and it has brought spiritual conviction and renewal to their lives. It is my prayer that God will continue to use the inspiration and information behind these 101 more hymn stories to deepen and broaden our worship and praise of Himself. I have tried to give a variety of hymn styles in this volume, including more 20th century gospel hymnody, as well as the enduring favorites of the past. Together, let us strive to make our church services times of optimum spiritual blessing through meaningful and virtual congregational singing. May we who have been entrusted with the leadership of God's people renew our concern for the assembling of ourselves together, exhorting, encouraging one another, and so much the more, as we see the day approaching. From Hebrews 10:25. Allow me to offer these simple suggestions the next time you open your church hymnal in a public service. To lift your voice in praise, take a few extra moments for personal spiritual enrichment by noting thoughtfully the words you sing. When possible, make an effort to learn something further of the experiences that prompted the writing of each hymn. The hymnal can also be an excellent aid to one's own daily personal devotion life. Then perhaps God has given you a talent for expressing feelings and truths with words and music. May I encourage you to use and develop this gift? It is my conviction that the hymnal should be an ever-developing book, so that the spiritual experiences that prompted these expressions of the past should be occurring in our lives today, producing new statements of the ageless truths. Finally, keep a good hymnal on your home piano if you have one, so that you can enjoy informal times of singing and discussing favorite hymns with family and friends. It has often been said that a believer's practical theology may well be his hymnology. Hymns breathe the praise of saints, the vision of the prophets, the prayers of the penitent, and the spirit of the martyrs. They bring solace to the sad, assurance to the perplexed, faith to the doubter, and comfort to the oppressed. They span centuries of history and bridge the barriers of denominations. Study them to be pure in heart. Sing them to be joyful in spirit. Store them in the mind to possess a treasury of worship. It has not been possible to determine the authorship or source of all the materials that we will be going through. Grateful acknowledgement is hereby proffered to the various authors, publishers, and copyright owners of those cooperation and help have made this volume possible. Praise ye the Lord, for it is good to sing praises unto our God, for it is pleasant, and praise is comely. That's taken from Psalm 147, verse 1. This preface was written by Kenneth W. Osbeck. And our first hymn story in this new More Hymn Story series is entitled A Charge to Keep I Have. A charge to keep I have, a God to glorify, who gave his Son my soul to save, and fit it for the sky, to serve the present age, my calling to fulfill. Oh, may it all my powers engage, to do my Master's will. Arm me with zealous care, as in thy sight to live, and O thy servant, Lord, prepare a strict account to give. Help me to watch and pray, and on thyself rely, and let me ne'er my trust betray, but press to realms on high. I've never sung that song before. This is the first time. A charge to keep I have. The author is Charles Wesley from 1707 to 1788. The composer is Lowell Mason from 1792 to 1872. The tune name is To Boylston. The meter reading is SM 66.86, and the scripture reference for the hymn itself is taken from Leviticus 8:35. Our scripture verse reading for this hymn is from Ephesians 4:1. I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that ye walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called. One of the most powerful evangelizing influences England ever experienced was the Methodist hymnody, begun by John and Charles Wesley in the 18th century. The 6,500 hymns of Charles were written on every phase of Christian experience and Methodist theology. Both of these brothers believed strongly in the spiritual potential of music and congregational singing. They used their hymns to arouse sinners, encourage saints, and to educate all in the mysteries of the Christian faith. In 1870, the Wesleys published a comprehensive hymnal comprising their many hymns that they had been used for 50 years. This hymnal was titled A Collection of Hymns for the Use of the People Called Methodists. John Wesley wrote a preface in which he summed up its purpose, large enough to contain all the important truths of our most holy religion. And what other publication of this time have used so full and distinct an account of scriptural Christianity? Such a declaration of the heights and depths of religion, speculative and practical, so strong cautions against the most plausible errors, and so clear directions for making our calling and election sure, for perfecting holiness in the fear of God. Charles Wesley is said to have been inspired to write the text for this hymn while reading Matthew Henry's commentary on the book of Leviticus. In his thoughts on Leviticus 8:35, Henry wrote, "We shall every one of us have a charge to keep, an eternal God to glorify, an immortal soul to provide for, one generation to serve." This hymn text first appeared in Wesley's Short Hymns and Select Passages of Holy Scriptures, Volume 1 in 1762. It was printed under the title, "Keep the Charge of the Lord, that ye die not." It is one of 16 hymn texts by Charles Wesley, based on the book of Leviticus. John and Charles Wesley often incurred much opposition and persecution in their ministry for God. Sometimes this mob opposition was influenced by the local Anglican clergymen, who would go from house to house charging that the Wesleys were preaching blasphemy against the established church, and hence should be run out of town. In this book, The Gospel and Hymns, Albert Edward Bailey gives this account. If it was hard on the preachers, it was worse on the converts. They were outrageously treated, stoned, mauled, ducked, hounded with buildings, threatened, homes looted, businesses ruined. Anyone who walked through a town could pick out, by their ruinous condition, the homes where the Methodists lived. This hymn reflects the strength of those early Methodists. John Wesley once remarked, upon hearing his followers' persecution, "Our people die well." On another occasion, a physician said to Charles Wesley, "Most people die for fear of dying, but I never met with such people as yours. They are none of them afraid of death, but calm and patient and resigned to the last." Charles Wesley is also the author of the hymns "Depth of Mercy," "Hark the Herald Angels Sing." Other Charles Wesley hymns include "Christ the Lord is Risen Today," "Jesus, Lover of My Soul," and "Oh, for a Thousand Tongues." The tune "Boylston" was composed for this text by the American educator and musician Lowell Mason. Boylston is the name of a street in Boston as well as a town in Massachusetts. The tune was first used with this text in the Unison collection of church music published in 1832. This hymn was a favorite with the campground meetings, especially popular in this country during the latter half of the 19th century. Lowell Mason, often called the father of American church and public school music, was born on January 8, 1792, in Bedford, Massachusetts. He spent his early life in Savannah, Georgia. In 1827, he moved to Boston, and while residing there, founded the Boston Academy of Music for the purpose of reaching and teaching the masses with music. In 1838, Mason was instrumental in formally introducing music education into the public school curriculum in Boston. Later, Lowell Mason made a trip to Europe to study teaching Methodists there. Upon his return to his country, he began promoting musical conventions, which had wide acceptance and influence in 1851. Mason moved to New York City, where he began publishing hymnals and choral collections. In all, Lowell Mason is credited with composing and arranging approximately 700 hymn tunes, including such well-known hymns as From Greenland's Icy Mountains, from 101 hymn stories, Nearer, My God, to Thee, and When I Survey the Wondrous Cross. In 1855, the New York University conferred upon Mason the degree of Doctor of Music, the first such degree ever granted by an American school. Lowell Mason is also the arranger for the Christmas carol Joy to the World and the hymn O Day of Rest and Gladness, and is the composer of the hymn My Faith Looks Up to Thee. The divine human cooperative, God will never do what I can do. He only does what I cannot do. That was said of W. W. Welch. Awake, my soul, stretch every nerve, and press with vigor on. A heavenly race demands thy zeal, and an immortal crown. That was said of Philip Doddridge. And this last one is a poem entitled Quit You Like Men. Quit you like men, be strong. There's a burden to bear, there's a grief to share. There's a heart that breaks, neath a load of care, but fare ye forth with a song. Quit you like men, be strong. There's work to do, there's a world to make new. There's a call for men who are brave and true. On with the song. That was said of William Herbert Hudnut. Hopefully you enjoyed this first reading. I know it took a little bit longer than these normally are, but I hope you enjoy this series as we go through more hymn stories. So until the next episode, we will see you then. Take care and have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye now.